Hey everyone, this is Andy, better known as Love Retro BTW on Twitter, X, Threads, IG, and Cafe BTW on TikTok and YouTube. A quick update that the Cafe BTW podcast is taking a very long hiatus, but I still have something really amazing to share with you. We have a fantastic retro gaming community on Twitter X where we've crossed well over 2,000 passionate members. And if you're a lover of retro gaming, this is the perfect place to share your content, showcase your pickups, or just chat about your favorite old school games. To dive into nostalgia and become a part of the thriving community, click in the show notes on the Cafe BTW link tree or go right to my Twitter X profile on Love Retro BTW. And now, without further ado, gear up for another sensational episode of the Gamers Week podcast.
Coming up on Gamers Week podcast.
If I can just glide across the city, which I loved doing that in the Arkham series. I could just log into the game, and that's all I did. I don't do anything with the story. I don't solve puzzles. I just glide around the city, and I had fun.
Donnie finds a McDonald's, orders a Big Mac.
20-piece nugget.
Can you imagine being at the McDonald's where Batman goes to get his chicken McNuggets? Just sitting there in one of the booths.
What kind of sauce do you think Batman has with his chicken nuggets?
Barbecue. He's a barbecue guy.
No, he's sweet and sour. That's his personality, right?
I was thinking hot mustard. Because life is
hot
pain.
Mustard.
I'd like the hot mustard, please.
What do you mean you don't have any Szechuan sauce? I'm calling bullshit on this one. We made the bet on the regular show. Thus, you have to pay the penance on the main show.
I mean, you're just making up. That's not...
Headmaster Blue, can you please chime in and hopefully rule in my favor? Rule in the collective podcast's favor.
I enjoyed you calling me headmaster there for a second. That was nice.
Yikes.
Unfortunately, I don't think we talked about it on the regular show.
Ooh. Oh, in your face. Total facial.
To say I'm disappointed is an understatement.
So for anybody who doesn't listen to our uncut episode, which you absolutely should, and all you have to do is sign up for a Patreon to actually listen to it on a weekly basis, there was a bet that was made between myself and Donaldo that between the Bills and the Chiefs, this seems to be a running theme. Of course, the Bills lost, so I had to sing a little bit of Taylor Swift, and Donnie does not believe that I need to do that on the uncut. I have to do it on the regular show, which Blue... Thank you so much for clarifying.
Well, if you want to get super technical, it was never specified where you needed to sing it. But you know how easy it would be for me to take what you sang in the uncut and splice it into the regular show right here?
Ooh.
I stay out too late. Got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. That's what people say. Oh man, all of a sudden on the Patreon, that episode just disappeared.
Downloading episode now. All right.
All right, welcome to Gamers Week podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, the worst, and the weirdest headlines of the past week of the video game industry. This is episode 108, and today is Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. And I am Ryan, aka Retro Game Brews, and I will be your host for this evening, but I have two fine co-hosts with me as well. First up is a whiskey enthusiast whose world has been defined by this rich and smoky allure of Black Feather, her favorite brand. To her dismay, this cherished whiskey has vanished from shelves, and now she navigates the gap left by its absence, seeking a substitute to fill the void one way or another. Blue, how you doing today?
It sounds so bad when you put it like that.
Is that gap gaping?
And, I'll fill it any way I can, apparently.
Yeah.
Hi-yo.
And next up, a middle-aged dad hero whose epic race against the clock on long trips involve him breaking speed limits, denying bathroom breaks, and avoiding the temptations of roadside attractions to accomplish his sole purpose, beating the estimated time arrival on his GPS. Donnie G, how you doing today?
Unless it's fudge in Uranus, I'm always stopping there.
We always break for Uranus.
And the G stands for Donnie G PS.
Nice. Just pulled that one out of your gaping voids, did you?
Yes, I did.
All right, so why don't we jump into our reviews and reactions and requests for the week. First up from GoldenEye 1971 said, I've been behind on my podcast, so on one of my last shifts, I sat back and listened to 5 episodes in a row. Night flew by. Thank you. Great to hear you guys are streaming. See you there. 5 episodes in a row, though, I got to say, you're a trooper.
That's impressive.
Yeah, we can't stand each other that long.
Next up from Terry Baca said, wanted to add some thoughts on the Xbox dashboard stuff. I saw the developer direct ad and it actually didn't even faze me because Sony and Nintendo both do similar things. I think the Switch lock screen talks about directs, but the bigger issue is that it's impossible to find the stuff you want now. I hadn't touched my Xbox in months and it took me a solid 10 minutes to find Game Pass games. Just ads or like targeted Game Pass stuff all over, and the full library was comically hidden.
Well, if they're complaining that Game Pass is not growing the way they want, maybe it's because nobody can find it.
That's a point. Yep.
And last up is from Gaming Again, says, you three are all my backdoor friends.
Yay. I like the sound of that.
Yes, we do. And now it's time for the
swim, Rose! I need you to swim!
Oh, Jesus.
Keep swimming!
Oh, it's Titanic. Okay.
Yes,
Here.
yes. You didn't
Get
get
on
that?
it. Stay on it.
I don't think both of us can fit on this door, Jack.
But it looks like there's plenty of room. Maybe if you just scoot over it that way?
No, we better not risk it.
Well, I'm sure they'll be on their way to rescue us soon. It should just take them a few minutes to get the boats organized.
Perfect. That gives me just enough time to vote in this week's very important poll.
Can you believe that the winner of last week's poll was blowing on your cartridges to get them to work?
I'll never just blow, Jack. I'll never just blow.
I know, Rose. That's why I love you.
Atta girl.
And I love Gamers Week podcast.
Don't you do that. Don't you start saying your goodbyes. You're going to get out of here, and you're going to record lots of podcasts and vote in so many polls and die an old woman with her 16-bit consoles clutched in her hands.
I'll never not be retro, Jack. I'll never not be retro.
Boy, this water is really cold. Are you sure that door couldn't hold both of us?
Oh, it would sink immediately and all would be lost.
All right, if you say so. But you must promise me this, Rose. Promise me you will always listen to Gamers Week so you can hear Donnie's bad innuendos and Ryan's terrible singing and how Blue is always right.
I promise, Jack.
God, I'm freezing to death. If only we could both have fit on that door.
Yeah, die already, Jay.
Is there anyone alive out there?
Ooh, my ride's here. Sorry, I have to get going. Oh, one last thing before I leave, though. Hey, Jack. Guess who your new main in Mortal Kombat is?
Who?
It's Sub-Zero, Jack. It's Sub-Zero.
Pretty sure Rose is a psychopath.
I like how Jack said, I love you, Rose. And she's like, well, I love Gamers Week.
How come nobody ever said, hey, let's take shifts on the door?
Right. Let's put our heads together. We can both get out of this.
She just didn't want to. That's all. It's my door.
She's like, I got the diamond. I'm alive. Nah, you're only going to hold me down.
Yep. Bye. All right, every Monday on Twitter, we post our VIP. That is our very important poll. And if you'd like to participate, follow us on Twitter at GamersWeekPC. So the question for this week, which video game has the scariest prediction for the future? Coming in at third place, we have The End of the Universe from Universe Sandbox with 13.3% of the votes. Second place was Earth Invaded from Mass Effect 3 at 15.6%. And the winner was The Cyber Plague of Deus Ex with 40% of the votes. But we also had 31.1% of people vote other. So let's look at some of the comments from the poll. At Retro Gaming Dev said, the future in Chrono Trigger was pretty bleak. No food, no sun, wasteland controlled by robots and mutants who want to kill the remaining humans. At the Big Bridge 77 said, the demonic invasion in Doom. At Frunkis Baldwin said, the Drakengard / Nier series has humanity being wiped out, our androids almost getting wiped out, mad robots ruining life for other robots, and a few other things. At Go Hobo Go said, Last of Us's cordyceps infection. I won't survive that one. Hell, any of them. Homefront US invasion is pretty freaky too. And at Redox PDX says, pretty sure the world actually ended in Final Fantasy VI. So how did you vote in the poll, Johnny?
I didn't really have an answer this week because I'm not sure of all the games that have it where the world ends or there's like a bleak afterwards. But the one that did come to mind was The Last of Us.
Yeah.
You know, I did play that game, and with all of the people that end up as a walking genital wart. And
thanks for that visual.
Well, the clickety clackety clattering of whatever it is. I don't know if it's I guess genital warts clickety clack. I'm not familiar with that. I don't have experience with that. But any kind of game where it has like there's zombies or things like that just walk around, that you have to be constantly on your guard. And not only with that, but with other people, humans as well. So you think about the Walking Dead series, you know, with somebody like Negan who goes in there and controls the resources and just absolutely murders people. That stuff is pretty bleak. So that's not a world, an end of the world that I want to spend any time with. So I'm going to check out.
All right. What about you, Ryan?
So interestingly enough, which you wouldn't guess it if you just looked at the face value of this series of games, but Splatoon has a really bleak. Right. So it looks kind of, like happy-go-lucky and all this stuff, right? And it's very kiddish looking. But the backstory of Splatoon is that the world ended due to global warming, great flood, everything flooded over, erased humanity and all of the land animals, realistically. And what ends up happening is the closest near sentient beings, squids and octopuses, evolve over time and develop bipedalism. And, obviously their ink is hugely important to that, but they take over the world, right, from this post-apocalyptic future. So interestingly enough, the whole global warming, melting all of the ice caps and stuff is technically a realistic future as well. So the whole evolving of octopuses and squids, I don't know how realistic that is, but it's a scary proposition, to say the least.
Yeah, I have two immediate thoughts on that. One is it octopuses?
Octopi and octopuses are both acceptable.
Okay.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Is puss an acceptable answer?
This is always an acceptable answer.
And my second question was, at the risk of taking that backstory way too seriously, why would they abandon the biological aspects that allowed them to survive to adopt the qualities of everyone that went extinct?
Excellent question. I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure somebody in the ether of the internet could probably answer that question, but I don't know.
Probably.
I'm not a scientist.
The funny part, too, is in the game, if you land in water, you die. So that's...
Yeah. See?
Wow.
Congratulations, Squidlings. You played yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Down is up is down. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. What about you, Blue?
So my choice is not technically a dystopian future. My choice is a dystopian alternate reality of the game We Happy Few. So this is a game where World War II went differently and Nazis are still on the loose. And there was a a town in Britain. They all voluntarily become addicted to this drug called joy that just makes you happy all the time. And so you don't think about things and whatever, but they decide that it's mandatory and anybody who won't take it is like public enemy number one. And they'll either forcefully drug you or they'll give you a lethal dose of it.
The reverse black sleep of Kalima.
Yeah, basically.
It's kind of like Demolition Man rolled into it as well.
Yeah, joy,
Yeah.
joy,
Everybody's
feelings.
happy. Joy, joy feelings, yeah.
Yep, right in there.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and shout out our patrons this week?
We couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. Evo Lust, Rai Secret Best Friend, Mega Retro Man, Gamatroid, Moradib, Michael Lakite, Emo-esque, Bill Tucker, The Real Retro Game Brews, Fruitcake's Pickled Pepper, Ducks with Thick Thighs, Wizard of Zardoz, Bobson Dugnut, Loud Moth, Retro Blast Pat, Great Saiyaman 81, BNT Zilla Guy, The Mad Milkman, Seven Castle Forest, Crunchy Kong, Sheriff Stanks, Frank Grande, Love Retro BTW, Steven Sand, Ramboski, Terry Canair, Doongie Forever, Ducks in Disguise, Don't Make Me Pull Over This Car, Games with Coffee, Hybrid Defied, Matto1606, You Fall Before Me, Davey PGH, the Red Ox PDX family, including Shannon and Luke, Zach Huge Thanks, number 1 Sick Blue Voice fan, and Sassy Sony. If you like what you hear today, we really hope you do. Please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing, like prizes and giveaways. You'll also gain access to our weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
All right, so now it's time for our headlines. Our headline segment is proudly sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic, family-friendly retro gaming podcast. In each episode, Rob and Hugh pick 2 games to discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. Right now, they're discussing Mega 95, Hyperkin's new handheld Sega Genesis. Visit retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes. So have you guys got a chance to see this thing?
I'm taking a look at it now. It looks like a badass Sega Genesis controller with a screen in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. If this thing blows up, I'm going to go ahead and sell off my Nomads.
Ooh, okay.
You know, there's the very easy joke of, we don't need the Mega 95. We got Mega 95 at home, and it's Game Gear.
But the battery for these things are probably 10 times better than, I'm going to say a million times better than what than what the Nomads were. And I just sold one of my Nomads today. So I have one left, and I might consider getting rid of that one because I guarantee you those things are going to become paperweights. Nobody's going to want to deal with them if this thing actually plays all of your different Sega Genesis games, has a bright, vibrant screen, which it looks like it does. I mean, come on. How could you not go with this thing?
And to be fair, I bought the Superboy, which was their Super Nintendo version of this. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest, though, I had problems. I bought one. It stopped working. Had to trade it in. But Hyperkin usually makes good stuff nowadays. So hopefully this one doesn't have the same bugs. As,
like Kool-Aid Man controllers?
Like Kool-Aid Man controllers. Did not use a hot dog for the Oscar Mayer one. But I digress.
All right, first up tonight from Insider Gaming, Microsoft's Xbox brand reports record growth following mass layoffs. All eyes have been on Microsoft and the Xbox brand this week after reports that it laid off 1,900 employees, including many at Activision Blizzard, following the completion of its acquisition. Then, just days later, Microsoft let go of more employees from its esports division, leaving approximately 12 people remaining on the team. Despite this, Microsoft has just published its earnings report for Q2 2024 and has reported record numbers in its gaming division, which now includes revenue from Activision Blizzard for the first time in its report. For the first time, Microsoft Gaming and the Xbox brand has overtaken Windows and is now the third largest component of its business behind Microsoft Office and cloud-based services. Microsoft has reported $62 billion in revenue with a net income of $21.9 billion during Q2 2023. Most of its products and services have grown year over year, with just its devices revenue down 9% as sales return to pre-pandemic levels. However, its largest growth has come from the Xbox brand, which has seen a staggering 61% growth year over year for its Xbox content and services revenue. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella reported that Xbox Game Pass saw a record for the most subscriptions added on a single day ever following the release of Starfield in September 2023. He also noted that the company has made great strides in cloud gaming and has seen a 44% increase in the number of hours players have streamed its titles in the past year. Microsoft CFO Amy Hood stated that she expects the gaming division to continue to grow following the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, which will come as a blow to many of the former employees who unexpectedly lost their jobs earlier this month despite adding $2 billion in revenue for the company. Even with the continued growth of its content and services, estimated to be in the 40s next quarter, Microsoft is expected to report a decline in console sales. Hood claimed this is due to the weaker console market, which only saw the brand grow 3% over the holiday period despite aggressive promotions and deals for its Xbox Series X console, with the PlayStation 5 currently outselling it at a 3-to-1 ratio.
Tell me you're a piece of shit without telling me you're a piece of shit. We saw record growth, but we're going to lay off all these people. Screw you.
When news of these layoffs broke last week, Hard Drive, who is always on point, they put out an article that says, here are all the game industry CEOs who took a pay cut to prevent layoffs.
And it was empty.
And at the end, it says, please remember these names and know that they did all they could.
Jesus.
And was Microsoft's CEO on that list?
The list was empty. That was the punchline.
Okay.
I would say this is so indicative of corporate America, you know? As soon as they start to generate revenue and things are going well, like, oh, let's cut the fat, right? You know, because that's the easiest thing, is to lay people off. Your lowest common denominator as far as cost is concerned, more than likely. And you know what? As an executive, though, I'm going to really enjoy the increased brand value that comes from our stockholders and stock, because that's going to go up because we've just all of a sudden said that we're creating so much more revenue and we get to pocket more.
Well, and it also feels like massively cooking the books as well. It's like, look, we grew so much. We made so much extra revenue. No, you didn't. You wrote a check and you bought another company. And now you're claiming that company's success as your own, patting yourself on the back and then laying off a bunch of people. That's not success.
To them, it is.
But long term, when you're getting outsold 3-1...
Everything's fine.
Yeah, things are going great.
It's like when your football team gets rid of everybody on the team, writes a bunch of checks, brings in the big players, and then goes, yay, we won. Look at us. We're so great. No, you're not. You just have a bigger checkbook.
Miami Dolphins.
Los Angeles Dodgers. But yeah, you're right. They bought... the Activision Blizzard acquisition is finally complete. And they're like, oh, look at all this revenue we're getting from that department. Yes, see, Xbox is doing great. No, you're really not. Like Blue said, you just wrote a check. You bought another company. Your console is being outsold. So keep telling yourself whatever you need to do to sleep well at night, Xbox. But I think you can hear the music playing.
But the thing is, they're so focused on the brand. This is also an indication to me that they're more interested in the cloud service stuff than they are the console market. I'll make a prediction here. I will say in the next 10 years, you will not see an Xbox console coming out.
Well, especially not if they keep losing.
Right.
Yeah.
They've lost two generations in a row handedly. And you can't continue to take a loss and be in second place for that long and be sustainable. Sega.
You don't have to say it like that. I was already thinking it.
I mean, and the thing is, too, it's already in place. The Game Pass is available through PC. So at the end of the day, it's not like it would take them a whole lot to make some changes. All they would have to do is just say, yep, we're not selling any more consoles. We're switching completely over to PC. Here you go. So they will become basically what Steam is, more or less. Yeah. But subscription services rather than just straight up purchasing games.
And that might necessarily be a bad thing. It might be where their direction lies from here on out.
Right. Or the dongle.
The dongle.
And the thing is, with their purchase of all these studios, they don't really have to create a console anyway. All they have to do is license it to other consoles, right? Say it's exclusive to us. We'll take a cut of every game you sell. That's free money, basically, in their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're saying, but do you think the collective greed of Microsoft, or any company for that matter, would effectively stop in that nature and stop trying to create games because they have done it before?
Well, I'm not saying that necessarily they need to stop creating games. I'm just saying not having a console isn't going to be the death stroke that it was to Sega.
Oh, of course not.
No. And I think Xbox is counting on Call of Duty and King Mobile Games to do an awful lot of heavy lifting for the company's bottom line.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they should have reassigned those 1,900 people to the mobile gaming division.
Which they probably would have quit.
Right. Next up from Windows Central, searches for Suicide Squad Refund surged 791% following the game's early access launch disaster. Developed by the legendary studio Rocksteady, known for the Batman Arkham games, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League launched in early access this week. The game has seen controversy after controversy, going back as far as its initial reveal. There's been backlash against its always online nature, which is a huge departure from the single-player focused action games Rocksteady is known for. That skepticism was since compounded by fragments of gameplay and story beats that leaked prior to the game's launch, with fans once again doubting the game's direction. Later on, IGN and other major press outlets previewed the game with a near-unanimous negative tone, which is rare to see occur so broadly. "We didn't like it," said IGN.
"No, sir, I didn't like it."
Said IGN, who then later was reportedly denied review access by Warner Brothers in retaliation. Aw.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Then finally, a mere hour after its early access launch on January 30th, Rocksteady took the game entirely offline to fix a devastating bug that would lead to new players receiving 100% completion of the entire game without having done anything. As an always online game, even if you're playing solo for the story, you no longer have access to the content as Rocksteady continues its maintenance periods. Early access was the biggest perks of the Suicide Squad to Kill the Justice League Deluxe Edition, which costs an absurd $100. As such, one of the benefits therein of said Deluxe Edition is no longer available, owing to this lengthy maintenance period. Google Trends data shows that the launch has led to a massive 791% spike in searches for Suicide Squad Refund. You might expect that searches for Refund wouldn't exist before the game had even launched, but the spike seems to have been triggered specifically by its 100% completion bug. As of writing, the game is now currently live again, but it's unclear how long that'll last for. It's also arguably a violation of the game's 72 hours early access promise, considering the game was down for several hours, which has contributed to this surge in Refund interest.
Easiest platinum ever. What's everybody whining about?
With everybody talking about, I need an easy mode and all this stuff to get through the game, they're just cutting out all this and saying, hey, all you have to do is buy the game, load it up, bam, it's already completed. What more do you want?
Man, they should have rolled with that as far as rather than be like, oh yeah, we planned this, right? Wanted to give you access to everything right away. We're very generous. You're welcome. Go back and play the real game though, if you could. That'd be great. Man, somebody is going to get fired so quick.
I don't know. I mean, as we've heard before, when the game goes live, it's instantly played by thousands upon thousands of more people than they could possibly test it. So they find bugs that they didn't know was there. But this,
right?
Have you ever even heard of a bug like this that just skips you straight to the end?
It's like playing the easy Minesweeper mode where you just click on one section of the thing and it reveals everything right away.
Right.
Look at me, I'm so cool.
So good at Minesweeper.
I mean, this game has been, as this article kind of alludes to, it's been a dumpster fire from the very beginning. But because this IP is so popular, so many people are willing to shell out this much money, even despite all these red flags. And I just kind of wonder how if the real game is ever going to possibly live up to all of this and make it worth it.
Speaking of worth it, $100 to get 72 hours of early access. So really, you're paying $30 more for 72 hours of early access. Is that worth it?
I might do it for the right game.
Still, I struggle with the concept of $30 extra. I mean, basically, that's a third of the price of the game anyway.
$10 a day.
$10 a day. That's terrible.
Look at it from a streamer's perspective. they get early access to the game. They're able to play it and stream it and show everybody, if they can complete the game in 72 hours, like stream it for 10 hours a day or something like that, get it so early that you have so many different people watching your stream, so many new people stopping by that leads to new subscribers, new followers, new donations, everything. I think to them, it's probably worth it.
And I would say let's test this with Rocksteady's next game that they offer 72 hours worth. But I'm going to guess that Rocksteady will never do this again.
They'll probably be fine. It'll be the No Man's Sky cyberpunk thing where they'll get over these early issues, and then the game will go on and be a success, and it'll be just fine. And they'll say, "See, it worked out after all."
I hate this reality. I do though feel really bad for the folks at Rocksteady, not management, not the executive crew, but the people who are actually fixing this. The crunch right now for them to try to fix this bug has to be, that'd be the worst.
It would be the worst, but they planned on this. I'm pretty sure that companies use early access periods to test for bugs, and yet they charge people extra for it and call it early access instead of you're the guinea pigs.
Right, $30 to be a guinea pig. Here you go.
You pay us to be it's not we pay you, it's you pay us to be the guinea pig.
For the privilege of being the guinea pig.
The privilege.
Imagine walking into like a scientific study and be like, all right, welcome. You're going to be doing this weird scientific study. By the way, $30?
Sorry, what?
Didn't know I'd be receiving electric shocks. Well, we're paying you, aren't we? Keep the $5.
All right, next up from Engadget. Arzette, a love letter to the CD-i Zelda games, will also revive an awful controller. Arzette, the jewel of Faramore, is getting a controller worthy of its inspiration, for better or for worse. The upcoming game, a spiritual successor to the infamous 1993 Zelda titles for the Philips CD-i, will launch with a limited edition controller that resembles one of the largely forgotten system's original remotes. Developer CD-i Software, a homophone?
Ain't no damn homophones up there.
A homophone for CD-i Software says using the controller on classic controls mode will let you play Arzette as it might have been played back in 1993. That's when the title's inspiration, Link, the Faces of Evil, and Zelda, the Wand of Gamelon, arrived for the Philips brief stab at a game-changing home entertainment system. The retro-inspired controller will only work with Switch and PC, but the game itself will also support PS5, PS4, and Xbox. Remote looks nearly identical to the Philips paddle controller, except for a couple of extra buttons. A fair warning that given how the original remote played, the new version won't likely make Arzette or any other games more playable or enjoyable, just more nostalgic. CD-i has partnered with Limited Run Games to distribute the controllers and physical game copies, and the two companies say that they work hand in hand to craft the perfect physical goodies that pay tribute to Arzette and the oft-overlooked era in gaming. The game brings back several artists from the CD-i Zelda games, including artist Rob Dunleavy and voice actors Jeffrey Rath, Link, and Bonnie Jean Wilbur, Zelda. The controller will be available to pre-order starting February 2nd at 10 a.m. Eastern, and pre-orders close on March 17th. The standard gray remote costs $35, and it currently has an estimated November ship date. A pink variant will be exclusive to Arzette's Collector's Edition. Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore, arrives on February 14th. Yay?
I mean, this is what you want for Valentine's Day, right?
Oh, you're right. It comes out on the 14th.
Here, babe, I got you this Philips CD-i game with the pink weird controller.
And I got you divorce papers.
Yeah.
I think I would rather get this than a vacuum, right?
Well, is it a Roomba? Something like that, that vacuums on its own?
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got to give them credit for going full board here. I mean, they could have just made the game and then launched it, but adding the extra element of a shitty controller to go with a shitty game just seems like the perfect marriage. It's exactly what they needed to do.
I suppose, but if this is meant to sell mainly based on nostalgia, this was such a small market that ever had this thing.
Right.
How many of these do you really expect to sell? Or are you just doing the normal limited run games things and doing the false scarcity and then everybody runs to buy one?
And that's why I want it. I kind of want one. No.
And it works like a charm.
No, they got me. They got me.
Are you going to get the pink one?
Ryan's a simp for Zelda games.
The fact that it's available on Switch means I could try to play other games with it too.
But why would you want to do that?
Because I like to torture myself.
I mean, we don't kink shame.
It's also available on PC, so I can hook it up to my... Oh, let's play Call of Duty with this thing.
You don't play Call of Duty anyway.
I would with a P or CD-i controller.
Being the only streamer that plays Call of Duty and Warzone with a CD-i controller.
Oh man, think about it. We'd have such a following. I would have
You'd have to have two cameras, one on your face and one on your hands.
Totally
so
doable.
Could see what you were doing.
So standard gray remote costs $35 and currently has an estimated November ship date. Man, I don't know. I never played the Wand of Gamelon, nor have I played the Faces of Evil. Based on their horrible reviews, I don't want to play either of these games. I don't know if I want to play Arzette. If it's a love letter to these games, does that mean it's going to be just as bad? Take a look at Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. That game is horrible. It's just a bunch of screenshots, yet it got a physical freaking release. And I wouldn't say people went crazy for it, but a significant amount of people went out there and bought it. And I've seen posts on Facebook and Reddit like, oh, here's my Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. Why?
You guys own a lot of weird things just for the sake of history.
She's not wrong. She is not wrong.
Yeah, you got a point.
I think a lot of people are buying it for shelf candy too, because it's from limited run games.
Of course. I mean, I'm definitely an limited run games shelf candy enthusiast. I've got several different things that I've had from them that I've not opened. Actually, I think there's only like one thing that I've opened, but everything else is unopened.
Yeah, I'm looking at my collector's edition for Shredder's Revenge that I haven't opened.
Oh, I wanted that. I didn't get Shredder's Revenge.
And then Garbage Pail Kids haven't opened.
I mean, I've got my share of limited run stuff, but I open it.
Oh, you think you're better than us?
Yeah, I actually play it. Yeah, I do.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and check out our top 3 new releases for the week.
All right, first up is Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash, out on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Bring a friend and dive into the world of Jujutsu Kaisen in this action-packed 2-on-2 fighting game. Aim to become the strongest together by taking advantage of the characteristics of each technique, aiming for a joint attack triggered by combining attacks, and working together in harmony to assess the battle situation. As you grow in battle, more powerful techniques and latent abilities blossom. Embrace the core of the cursed energy and win in this intensifying battle situation.
That sounded like a completely AI written description.
It makes more sense if you've watched the anime.
Oh, my brain hurt on that one.
Next up is Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, out on PS5, PS4, and PC. A grand adventure in the skies awaits. Form a party of 4 from a diverse roster of Skyfarers and slash or shoot or hex your way to victory against treacherous foes in this action RPG. Take on quests solo or with the help of others in up to 4-player co-op play. Fast-paced combat not your thing? Assist modes can provide accessibility for gamers of all skill levels. Toggle on full assist to have all actions performed automatically during battle. And finally, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, out on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. From Rocksteady Studios, the creators of Batman Arkham, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a genre-defying third-person action shooter where the ultimate band of misfits must do the impossible, kill the Justice League. Each squad member brings their own traversal mechanics to help them navigate a sprawling and battle-torn metropolis, combining free-roaming exploration and combat verticality for an unforgettable experience. Whether in single-player or online with up to 3 of your friends, players can take on this suicide mission their own way. So taking a look at these 3 games this week, what are you in for, Donnie?
Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash, not my thing. I don't like the art style. It's just nothing draws me to that one. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, again, same kind of art style, not into it. Just doesn't, nothing's...
I'm sorry you guys hate anime.
It's not that I hate anime. It's not that I hate. It's not that I hate anime. It's just like there's really no draw for me in these two games, which leads me to Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. Now, based on what we just talked about, I don't think I'm going to pick up this game anytime soon. However, because it's from Rocksteady Studios, the makers of the Arkham series, which I absolutely love, I'm willing to give this game a shot. I didn't care too much for the Suicide Squad second movie. I thought the first movie was good. Second movie was a little bit eh. But the fact that they're taking on the Justice League after something happened to them and going through and they're killing Batman, they're killing Superman, Wonder Woman, all that stuff. That's something you typically don't see in video games. I mean, hell, I remember the DC versus Mortal Kombat where they didn't want to show a death or a fatality to Superman because they wanted to keep up that idea that Superman is immortal. I think once they get the bugs worked out, I might pick up this one.
All right. What about you, Ryan?
I didn't know that Jujutsu Kaisen Crush Class was actually already an anime because my first thought watching the trailer was, this is so anime, it makes me sick.
Hey, harsh.
But you know what's cool about it is it looks a little bit like Power Stone back on the Sega Dreamcast, the way you manipulate the environments, right? And it's like a 2-on-2. So Power Stone and Power Stone 2. So it's interesting. Not really my thing, especially considering just how incredibly anime it is. Which brings me to Suicide Squad. Kind of in the same boat as you, Donnie, on this one. I'm a wait and see for obvious reasons. Even though I would love to complete the game in little to no time. But pass for now, which actually brings me to Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. And you know what? Looking at this one, it seems like it's kind of a mix between God of War and Final Fantasy a little bit, right? Where you're taking on large monsters, but you're also utilizing spells and different things. So it's definitely got some... Nice. Definitely got some cool elements to kind of this action RPG. But one of the things that I'm disappointed on is that the trope of having a airship in every RPG that comes out of Japan needs to stop. That needs to stop. But, at the end of the day, it's probably to me at least the most interesting one. And plus, I can just throw on full assist if I just feel like vegging for the day. Maybe I'm sick. Maybe I don't feel well. And I could just have the game play for me. Doesn't that sound nice?
No! This is supposed to be interactive, not just turn it on and let it play for you. This isn't a movie.
Oh, then apparently you're not going to like Death Stranding 2 then.
I've never played Death Stranding 1, so it doesn't matter to me. What about you, Blue?
Well, unlike you two, not a Suicide Squad fan, so just going to skip that one. Moving on to Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash. If you have watched the anime at all, of course it makes sense that they would make this game. It seems perfect given the characters and the characters' abilities in the show. And as much as I love the anime, having just gotten Tekken 8, I don't know if there's room in my life for another fighting game. So I'm going to put a pin in that one and put it off to the side. Keep an eye on it. See how the reviews are. See how people like it. So that leads me over to Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. I love me an anime game. I love me an action RPG. I even love me some airships, Ryan. So this one's checking all the boxes, and this is one that I'll probably look into getting.
Very nice. All right, so why don't we go ahead and jump into our main topic.
From GameSpot, State of Play January 2024, all the biggest PS5 announcements. The January 2024 State of Play has just ended, and with it comes over 40 minutes of updates on over 15 games coming to PlayStation consoles. The official announcement teased new information on Team Ninja's upcoming adventure game Rise of the Ronin, as well as Shift Up Corporation's Stellar Blade. But the presentation has also revealed new information on Death Stranding 2, a new Sonic Generations game, and the Metro franchise's first foray into VR. Here are all the biggest announcements from the showcase.
First up is Stellar Blade, the new action game from Shift Up. Got a deep dive during the State of Play, introducing the game's post-apocalyptic Earth setting, as well as its heroine, Eve. The video then shifts to scenes of combat against monsters in the Wastes, which includes boss fights against creatures called Abaddon and a Stalker. Stellar Blade is set to launch on April 26, 2024. Presentation then shifted to the first brand new reveal of the state of play, Sonic X Shadow Generations, a new version of the 2010 Sonic Generations. The trailer focuses on Shadow's gameplay, which bears a striking resemblance to the game he starred in on PlayStation 2 back in 2006. Sonic X Shadow's Generation is slated for autumn 2024 release.
So wait, good things came out of the Sonic franchise in 2006?
Ooh, super.
I didn't say good. It did not. It just said striking resemblance.
After its collaboration with Dredge was announced at the Game Awards 2023, Dave the Diver's next partnership was announced during State of Play, and this time things are a bit more colossal. Godzilla will be entering the world of Dave the Diver in May of this year. Next up was V Rising, an isometric survival RPG from Stunlock Studios. Along with a glimpse at the game's combat and world, it was confirmed that V Rising would be coming to PlayStation 5 sometime in 2024. In another surprising reveal, Konami announced Silent Hill: The Short Message, a first-person survival horror game set in the Silent Hill universe. It follows a girl named Maya who must travel through a dark house in search of something, all while being stalked by a monstrous entity. Silent Hill: The Short Message is free to play, and it is available right now.
When I first read that, I thought it was The Short Massage. And I was just like,
You finished early.
yeah. After The Short Message, Konami then gave us our first glimpse at gameplay for Bloober Team's remake of Silent Hill 2. We see James Sunderland fighting enemies and exploring familiar locales from the original game, like the Woodside Apartments. No release date was given for Silent Hill 2 Remake, unfortunately, as the trailer ended with a vague, now in development message. Judas, a new first-person shooter from Ghost Story Studios, and Ken Levine, was the next game highlighted. The trailer showed off the Mayflower, a city adrift in space where everyone spies on everyone else. Players will control the titular Judas as she tries to fight back against the machines that cover everything in the city. No release date was announced for Judas, as only a now in development message was shown at the end of the trailer.
I see what you did there. Put a little emphasis on titular.
Titular.
PlayStation VR 2 saw its first new game of the presentation, next, as Metro Awakening brings the story Metroid franchise to virtual reality for the first time. The game has been set before the events of Metro 2033, and it will follow Serdar, a doctor who is looking for his wife in the hostile tunnels of Metro's world. Metro Awakening VR is scheduled for release in 2024. I almost said Metroid 3 more times.
I believe you. After that, we then saw an extended preview of the second game teased by Sony's announcement of the event, Rise of the Ronin, a new open-world samurai epic from Team Ninja. The trailer focused on three main elements: combat, with multiple action scenes featuring our hero intense hand-to-hand combat; traversal, which also gave us a glimpse of the game's world; and choice, as the game's story will give players choices which will affect the world around them. Rise of the Ronin will launch March 22nd. The next announcement came from Sony itself, as new studio Ballistic Moon is revamping the 2014 horror adventure Until Dawn for both PlayStation 5 and PC. For those who missed it the first time, Until Dawn follows the story of a group of teens during an overnight stay in a mountain lodge. The group realizes they're being hunted by a mysterious figure, and the player will choose how the story plays out in real time. The Until Dawn remaster will launch later this year.
The final segment of the State of Play was dedicated to Death Stranding 2, which now includes the subtitle On the Beach. The lengthy trailer introduced both new and returning characters, including Norman Reedus' return as the hero Sam Porter Bridges, and the introduction of Drawbridge, a new group dedicated to continuing Bridges' work and reconnecting the world. We also see Sam's brother Leo, who wields a unique railgun-like weapon, which is controlled by playing it like a guitar. Death Stranding 2 On the Beach is slated for a 2025 release. After the DS2 trailer, Hideo Kojima appeared on the broadcast to announce that his next project for Sony after Death Stranding 2 will be a new IP and a return to espionage action. Oh, yes.
Metal Gear without the Metal Gear?
Pretty much so.
So what'd you guys think of the State of Play?
A lot of reveals. For one, a new Silent Hill game.
I know. It looks epic and it looks terrifying. I feel like it was last year or maybe the year before, some images had leaked from a supposed new Silent Hill game because I recognized a lot of the shots in this trailer as being stuff that had leaked before. And so it's like, oh, cool. This story comes full circle. But it's really cool that it is free to play. A nod back to the Silent Hills demo that was so acclaimed. So this weekend, I'm definitely going to be playing the short message.
You had me at free to play. I can't believe they actually, I mean, if this game is a banger, you're giving it away for free?
It might just be like a half-hour game.
But still.
You know, speaking of Silent Hill 2 remake, I saw a different headline, and I wish I could remember which outlet said it, but if you squint your eyes just right, the Silent Hill 2 remake looks exactly like the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Touche.
They're not wrong.
You know, I was confused too while I was watching this because I thought that the Silent Hill 2 remake was just more gameplay of the short message. I was like, man, they really scaled back the graphics for this. And what happened to the girl?
She died.
Rise of Ronin looked super good.
It did, but it also looked like a slightly uglier version of Ghost of Tsushima.
You know, I was thinking the same, but with like elements of Assassin's Creed a little bit too.
Definitely there's some Assassin's Creediness, but there was Assassin's Creediness in Ghost of Tsushima.
I just think it's an interesting time period to use as a backdrop for a game. Basically, it's the end of your typical feudal Japan, and as they allowed in kind of a Western influence. So now you can use guns, you can use spears, you can use swords. It's an interesting time period to talk about with such change going on in Japan. So the history buff in me thinks that would be kind of a cool thing to experience. But the question is it gonna is it gonna do it better than like Sekiro or Ghost of Tsushima?
Well, I'm also seeing elements of the Arkham series in this thing because you can like do some sort of whip throw. You can like I saw the trailer where the guy's running on top of the roof. He does a whiplash type thing, Indiana Jones style, pulls on this thing. Next thing you know, he spreads wings and he's gliding across the city. And I'm like, whoa! Like if I can just glide across the city, which I loved doing that in the Arkham series. I could just log into the game and that's all I did. I don't do anything with the story. I don't solve puzzles. I just glide around the city and I had fun.
Donnie finds a McDonald's, orders a Big Mac.
20-piece nugget.
Can you imagine being at the McDonald's where Batman goes to get his chicken McNuggets? Just sitting there in one of the booths.
What kind of sauce do you think Batman has with his chicken nuggets?
Barbecue. He's a barbecue guy.
No, he's sweet and sour. That's his personality, right?
I was thinking hot mustard because life is pain.
Hot mustard.
I'd like the hot mustard, please.
What do you mean you don't have any Szechuan sauce? It's discontinued? We haven't had that since the 90s.
Bring it back. I'm Batman.
I must go fight this evil.
Man, what a great story arc that would have been.
Right. I wonder if that's in Suicide Squad. But yeah, I'm still going to play Rise of Ronin. I just really hope that it does something to set itself apart from Ghost of Tsushima to be its own game worth playing because I love Ghost of Tsushima. I got that platinum and I just want Rise of Ronin to be worthwhile on its own merits.
For sure.
So V Rising, though, that looks like if Diablo and Castlevania had a baby.
Right. I will be honest with you, I wasn't sure if it was U Rising or V Rising based off of the logo. So I had to look down at like the subscript and it was like V Rising, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. It's a V. Got it.
I mean, presumably for vampire, right?
I would imagine, but it wasn't clear. Pick a better font.
Yeah, it does look amazing as far as like the vampire concept here. You're absolutely right. It's got the isometric viewpoint of Diablo. You throw in a different character type, just like the whole vampire thing, and I think people are going to swallow this up.
Swallow it whole.
The other game I'm super excited about was Judas.
Yeah, of course. Being the BioShock fan.
Absolutely. I'm looking at this trailer and it just reeks of the first BioShock, which I freaking love.
You guys smell that?
I smell what The Rock is cooking here. And I, based on just the short trailer that I've seen, I am going to be a day one purchaser of Judas.
You know, and it said from the creators of BioShock. So I'm sitting there watching and I'm like, holy shit, this is just a new version of BioShock.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm okay with this. You know?
So we're getting Metal Gear, but it's not Metal Gear. It's got a new name. And we're getting new BioShock, but it's not new BioShock. It's got a new name. We're getting new Ghost of Tsushima, but it's not Ghost of Tsushima. It's got a new name. I feel like there's a pattern going on.
There is a little bit of a pattern.
And we're getting the same old Silent Hill too.
You know what's the weirdest thing about the Silent Hill 2 footage that they showed? Did it look like James' hair was glowing in the dark to anyone else?
Oh, that's a good point. Now that you mention it, yeah.
He's blonde, but he's way too blonde.
He becomes a Super Saiyan.
Kind of. It's just like it didn't seem to match the lighting of the rest of the game.
And can we have a normal trailer begin for any game that Kojima makes?
No.
Death Stranding trailer starts off in like clearly you're inside of an organ. There's a baby's face. The baby opens its mouth and a ship comes out. And I was like, what the
Right. And then later on, you've got the Joker or Eric Draven from The Crow, we're not sure, fighting a giant robot with a samurai sword. But the Joker guy has a guitar that shoots like laser bolts. And it doesn't have a trigger. He has to actually play it. And how on the hell did you survive any combat situation ever like that?
Freaking laser bolts.
No stairway denied. It's funny that you mentioned those two characters because my first thought was Kefka.
Kind of. And, we're talking about Jujutsu Kaisen earlier. There's a character in Jujutsu Kaisen that fights with the guitar. And when it got to that point, I was like, okay, now we've hit like level 11 anime-ness. And I'm kind of, losing interest in this series. And then it shows up again.
I cannot say that name for the life of me. Jujutsu Kaisen. My instinct wants to say jujitsu.
Jujitsu, right.
Yeah. So I hear jujutsu. I just feel like people are kind of swooshing their lips and saying it incorrectly. Jujutsu.
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 It's like the Dana Carvey joke that says you can't say judicial without sounding drunk.
Judicial. Judicial.
Yeah. But that Death Stranding 2 trailer just went on and on and on.
Right.
And I definitely was like checking my phone.
I never played the first Death Stranding. Obviously, probably not going to check out the second one.
You still have my copy of it, I think.
No, I sent it back to you.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I sold it.
Clearly, I was overjoyed to have it back. Then I was like, oh, yeah, whatever. But then also, let's not forget the new Sonic game.
New Sonic game.
I took a look at this. It doesn't look bad.
No, I was just going to say, that's the thing about Sonic games is the trailers always make them look amazing. And I always say, I should play that. But I rarely do.
And then I don't.
I always mean to play Sonic games, and I rarely do.
You see, Sonic, we actually love you. We always mean to play you, but just life gets in the way. And adult stuff happens, and we just kind of forget about it. So just
so much adult stuff.
Oh man, Sonic gets friend zoned.
Oh no!
We mean to date you, but something else better comes along.
We're just over here playing Super Mario World for the millionth time. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Don't worry. One night when we're drunk and alone, we'll give you a call.
Sonic, you piece of shit. Get up here, I want to play.
It's kind of hard when she's ready to go. All right, before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast. The show explores the history of video games through the stories and experiences of everyday people who lived it. The podcast is currently on hiatus, but there are over 90 episodes in the backlog ready to be explored. This week, Bill recommends episode 73, a conversation with Chris of Classic Gaming Quarterly. In this episode, Chris shares the origins of his YouTube channel and how it felt going viral and some of the trials and tribulations of content creation. This week's question is, what was your first gaming YouTube channel you fell in love with? Let Bill know the answer by sending him a tweet at agamerlooksat4040 on Twitter. I'm a little ashamed of my answer.
Oh, okay.
So when I got back into like retro collecting, that's when I decided to go check out YouTube. And I found originally a channel called The Irate Gamer, which was a total ripoff of AVGN. Now, I didn't know who AVGN was at the time, so I was watching this guy's content going, oh, this is really funny. I like this. This guy gets mad at games, and he does this whole tirade about them and how they suck, and it was funny. And then a buddy of mine, Rerun Gamer, who we know from Twitter and Twitch, he was like, oh, dude, you need to check out AVGN. And then I checked out AVGN, and I was like, oh, man, this guy totally sucks. Irate Gamer is such a carbon copy of AVGN. It's not even funny, and it is so obvious. But yeah, that was the first one that I was like, I really like this.
And it's a fraud.
All right, thank you for coming, students. Please take your seat. Welcome back to Professor Ryebread's Nostalgia 101. And in today's lesson, we'll discuss what I look forward to tuning into every Friday evening in the 80s and 90s, a lineup of mostly sitcoms that existed on the American Broadcasting Channel known as TGIF.
TGIF.
Wow, that was actually pretty good. That was like in tune with the pace and the the pitch and everything.
Gonna have some fun, show you how it's done. TGIF. Love Friday nights.
Loved it. So, long before the days of on-demand content, TiVo, the rewind function on television, you had to plan out your day to ensure that you were in front of your TV at the exact time to catch your favorite show. Now, God forbid something got in the way and you missed out on a hilarious episode or one that tackled real-world problems and misunderstandings. The talk around the water cooler the next day would be terrible. Now, this legitimately was a concern of people who lived during this time. Now, while I loved my Saturday morning cartoons or catching my favorite Nickelodeon shows in the afternoon, the sitcom lineup called TGIF was a must-watch every Friday night. Now, TGIF typically stood for Thank God It's Friday, but in this particular instance, it stood for Thank Goodness It's Funny, which I didn't know until I researched this.
I think you're lying.
It's on the internet, so it's got to be true. Now, many of the best TV shows of that era were featured during this lineup, and it lasted more than a decade with waxing and waning popularity. So today, I want to discuss my favorites from that group in no particular order. All right, so we're going to start off with number one. Let's go ahead and listen to the theme song and see if you guys can guess which it is.
Whatever happened to predictability? Knitman the Paperboy. That is Full House.
Full House is 100% correct. Now, Full House revolved around a widowed father named Danny Tanner, who enlists the help of his brother-in-law, Jesse Kostopoulos, and best friend Joey Gladstone to raise his three daughters, DJ, Stephanie, and Michelle. Now, growing up, I was a huge fan of Dave Coulier, who played Joey Gladstone. Now, Uncle Joey was goofy like me, and even had the most quotable line in the show, "Cut it out," that he'd say while making the corresponding hand gestures. Great show with a lot of heartwarming and often humorous interactions between characters, and launched the career of the Olsen twins, who played the youngest member of the Tanner family, Michelle. So what are your memories of Full House?
Exactly what you said. I mean, it was just a feel-good comedy. And finding out that Danny Tanner, Danny Tanner, a.k.a. Bob Saget, was a foul-mouthed pervert. Like, you would not expect that from seeing him as a wholesome family guy.
Right. He is the dirtiest comic, or was the dirtiest comic of all time. Ridiculous. It's the same time when you found out that Saved by the Bell's Dustin Diamond, was super dirty as well.
Yeah.
Did his own porno. Right.
Dustin Dirty Sanchez Diamond?
Yes, that's same. All right, let's check out number two. Now, this one is a tough one.
That didn't sound familiar.
Now, this is also season 1's version of the theme song. There were different ones for different seasons.
That doesn't sound like anything I remember.
Blue, I take it you didn't watch TGIF?
I have no idea. No, I didn't watch TGIF.
It was Boy Meets World.
See, I didn't care too much for Boy Meets World.
Love that show. Now, it chronicles the life of Corey Matthews from adolescence to adulthood as he navigates the complexities of growing up alongside his best friend, Sean Hunter, and his girlfriend, Topanga Lawrence. Now, set in Philadelphia, series follows Corey's experiences in school, friendships, and family relations, guided by his wise teacher, Mr. Feeney. Now, Corey's character was a troublemaker and often learned lessons the hard way, mostly influenced by his friend, Sean. Now, I love the dynamic between Mr. Feeney and Corey because it showed that despite Mr. Feeney coming off as a hard disciplinarian at school, he often showed life lessons to Corey by softening his approach and being a mentor with Corey when no one else was around. Now, plus, I love that the cool kid in school, over time, found a way to fall in love with the brainy girl, despite their contentious relationship early in the show. And why does everyone forget Mikas? He was the best character on the show.
I wouldn't know.
Somebody out there is going to be like, yes, I agree with RGB. All right, now it's time for number 3.
Step by step, day by day, fresh start over, different hands to play. Deeper we fall, stronger we stay. We'll be better the second time.
I think it's the same guy who sings a few of these.
Oh, it's probably it's the guy from the Bud Light commercials, the Mr. Rollerway Tie Inventor. I think.
I think maybe you're right. So, of course, Step by Step, which follows the blended family of Frank Lambert and Carol Foster, who decided to get married on a whim during a vacation in Jamaica. Sitcom explores the challenges and humors that arise as they merge their 2 different families, each with their 3 children. Frank's kids are from a blue-collar background, while Carol's children are accustomed to a more privileged lifestyle. It's a Brady Bunch-style show that resulted in a lot of great humor and learning the concept of family, all bundled into modern day. Now, I couldn't tell you the name of the kids as they were mostly forgettable, let's be honest. But there was one character that stood out to me, the lovable idiot, Cody.
Yes.
Now, Cody was one of their cousins that stayed at the house, and despite being portrayed as mostly dumb, he often led the other kids to have realizations about life by pointing out their hypocrisy or misgivings. He had the speech pattern of a California surfer to really drive home the point that he wasn't working with a full deck. Not the best show, but definitely a must-watch for Cody, as you never knew what he was going to say or do.
Cody was a badass too. I remember a certain episode where he somebody was getting bullied and he came on. He's like, "Hey, bro, let's just talk about this or whatever," and ends up kicking their asses. So it's like, "Hey, go Cody."
It didn't hurt that he was like 6'4". All right, let's check out number 4. This is another tough one.
Okay, that one's not ringing any bells.
It was Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
I don't remember Sabrina the Teenage Witch being on TGIF. I remember her being on Channel 11, which was like the WB.
Interesting. So maybe like reruns later on kind of thing?
Could have been, yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, though, Sabrina the Teenage Witch originally was a 1970s cartoon.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, which I didn't know until I did research into this. So,
I mean, I love me some Melissa Joan Hart, but I did not like Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Were you more of a Clarissa Explains It All kind of guy?
Yeah.
Fair enough. So Sabrina the Teenage Witch actually centers around Sabrina Spellman, a high school student who discovers she's a witch on her 16th birthday. Now living with her aunts Hilda and Zelda, and a talking cat, Salem, Sabrina navigates the challenges of being half mortal, half witch, as she learns to harness her magical abilities. Now, Sabrina deals with typical teenage dilemmas and some of those magical misadventures that get spliced in. Now, the show is really well written and tackled the idea of being unique and often desire to hide your true self. Plus, the talking cat Salem was my spirit animal being both witty and sarcastic. Didn't hurt that I had the hots for the antagonist and arch rival of Sabrina Libby on the show. She was hot.
Take your word for it.
All right, and for our last one, number 5.
It's a rare
Condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page.
love and tradition of the grand design. Some people say it's even harder to find.
Keep going, Donnie.
But there must be some kind of clue inside these gentle walls. Did I do that?
We'll get to that in just a moment. Now, of course, this is Family Matters. It revolves around the Winslow family, who also happens to be a part of the Die Hard franchise.
Yes, they are.
And particularly a police officer named Carl Winslow, his wife Harriet, and their children. The sitcom takes an unexpected turn with the introduction of geeky neighbor Steve Urkel, whose fascination with the Winslows, particularly their daughter Laura, leads to comedic situations. Now, Urkel is the classic trope of the nerd that was used to introduce his character. First, he was a nuisance, and eventually he gains the love and respect of the Winslows by putting them first. Now, his catchphrases like, anybody got any cheese? Or, did I do that? Mixed in with loads of slapstick humor, reminded me of like a modern day Curly from the Three Stooges. Lots of really fantastic lessons about life, racism, and family dynamics made this show an all-time favorite of mine.
Now, some people might not know that Family Matters was really a spin-off of Full House.
I did not know that. Go on.
Steve Urkel shows up in Full House.
Really?
Yeah.
You just dropped a knowledge bomb on me.
Steve Urkel shows up in a few episodes of Full House, and then subsequently they make a new series with Steve Urkel as the annoying neighbor. But this time they're in Chicago.
You know what's interesting, too, about that one is that Urkel was originally supposed to be just a bit character that they brought in once, and people fell in love with Urkel and like demanded him to be back. And then he basically became the star of the show.
Yes, he did.
Now, Jaleel White, who played the character of Urkel, fun fact, he also was the voice of what video game character in the cartoon?
Sonic.
That's right.
Yes.
Now, to wrap things up, I will say TGIF was a staple of my childhood growing up, and it was for many people who were around in the 80s and 90s, except for Blue. Now, the question is, did you agree with this list, or did I miss one that you absolutely loved? Feel free to let us know on Twitter or a comment on Spotify. What were your favorite TGIF shows? Now, thank you for attending today's Nostalgia 101. Just a reminder, if you have any ideas for a story or topic you'd like to hear, send us a message at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com, and we might feature your suggestion. Well, thank you for listening to episode 108 of Gamers Week Podcast, and a big thank you to Retro Game Club Podcast, Love Retro BTW, and A Gamer Looks at 40 Podcast for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. And if you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter at Gamers Week PC. Watch us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gamers Week Podcast. We will be live on Monday. Just saying.
Yes, we will.
Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com. Or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes and join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamersweek. And finally, since you made it all the way to the end of the episode, please leave us a rating and review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. While you're there, consider subscribing to What?
Sorry, I needed to sneeze. And
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a...
no, I was just
wrong.
scrambling to mute my mic before I blew your guys' eardrums out. Apologies.
Finally, since you made it all the way to the end of the episode, please leave us a rating and review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice.
Perfect Strangers, Balky from Meepos.
What?
That was on TGIF.
Balky from Meepos?
Yes, that was the Perfect Strangers with it is the guy whose cousin comes from Greece or whatever, or from Meepos, and he comes and lives with him. Check out Perfect Strangers. You know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea. I've never seen that show.
And the two ants from Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
I wasn't as much into, I think it's Hilda, but Zelda for sure.
I don't remember which names they were.
It was like, it's not Caroline Ray, right? It's something else. But yeah, the smarter one. I like smart chicks. It's kind of my thing.
I'll take whatever I can get.
Donnie subscribes to any port in the store. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
I stay out too late.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut, patrons with benefits. This is the unscripted, patron-only bonus cast with less editing and more dirty jokes. We don't know where the conversation will go, but we're sure it will be weird.
This fish just went right on my nipple, and I'm just like,
I Google Street Fighter 6. The first search result that comes up is people think they can see Ryu's dick in the Street Fighter 6 reveal.
Listen up here, kids. You're not going to want to get one of those VD-STDs things, right? Make you fall off. When you go, grab a pro. You'll be doing it for America.
that was perfect.
If you want to hear weekly episodes of our patron-only bonus cast, join us at patreon.com/gamersweek.